I'm exploring a really big and honestly a slightly unsettling idea today: cultural entropy. I'm going to unpack why our culture might be in the state of hyperstatus, stuck in a loop, and what that actually means for our collective imagination. Let's start with a question that I bet feels pretty familiar. You know that feeling you get when you hear a new song or watch a new movie and you just think, haven't I seen this before? It's the sense that we're stuck in a loop of remixes and reboots. But here's the thing: that feeling clashes with everything we know about human history. I mean, our entire civilization is built on a foundation of boundless ingenuity and curiosity. So, if our imagination is so powerful, what's causing this sense of stagnation? To understand this, we need to get our heads around a core, kind of counterintuitive principle. True human creativity doesn't come from perfect repetition, it comes from distortion, from productive error. Think about the game of Chinese whispers or telephone. One person starts with a clear message, but as it passes from person to person, it gets misinterpreted, it gets mutated, and it gets rearticulated. The final message is almost always completely different, and often it's wildly more creative than the original. And this frames the concept perfectly. In terms of fidelity, of perfectly copying the message, the game is a total failure. But for imagination, for generating something new, it's incredibly efficient. Each person's unique error adds a whole new dimension. This right here is the engine of human progress. Okay, now let's introduce a completely different kind of player into this game: artificial intelligence. Its goal is the exact opposite of creative distortion. At its absolute core, this is what an AI does: it scans massive amounts of human created data, text, and images. It mathematically determines the average probable outcome, the center. And AI sees the weird, the unexpected, the fringe ideas, the very things that drive human creativity as noise that needs to be discarded. It's fantastic at faithful reproduction. If you teach it the alphabet from A to Z, it will never ever on its own invent a 27th letter. It's an averaging machine, not an invention machine. And this is where the real problem begins. See, AI doesn't operate in complete isolation. It learns from us. And now we are starting to learn from it. And that creates a dangerous feedback loop. Let's walk through this. So, first, AI trains on the vast library of human culture. Then, it produces content that reflects the statistical average of that culture. Then, we consume this content and it subtly influences our own creative choices. Then, we upload our AI influenced work back online, and that becomes the new training data for the next generation of AI. It's a serpent, but biting its own tail. You know, this phenomenon actually has a name: model collapse. It's also called the Habsburg AI problem. Just like generations of inbreeding can lead to a collapse in genetic diversity, and AI training on its own simplified synthetic outputs loses its connection to real world nuance. The uncommon details, the sparks of genius, they all just vanish. Okay, so that's the technical side of it. But what does this feel like for us living inside this emerging loop? Well, it manifests as a strange, disorienting feeling that time itself is glitching. Let's try a quick experiment. Without looking it up right now, when do you remember Nelson Mandela passing away? For a lot of people, the answer that just pops into their head is that he died in prison sometime back in the 1980s. But that's not what happened. The reality is, Nelson Mandela was released from prison and died peacefully at his home in 2013. If you've misremembered that, believe me, you are not alone. This is what's called the Mandela effect. It's this bizarre phenomenon of a collective false memory. And it really points to a larger issue. When everything is averaged and remixed, when signals become degraded, our own memory of what's real and what isn't, it starts to blur. And this feeling is captured perfectly right here. The arrow of time, which once felt like it was always moving forward, creating genuinely new things, now it feels like it's bending back on itself. This state is called the long now. Think about it. Could a song from 2026 really shock someone from 2006? Probably not. But a song from 2006 could have shocked somebody from 1986. In the long now, the new and the old just kind of coexist in this flattened present, and nothing feels truly of its own time anymore. So when this feeling becomes the default, it's no longer just a personal psychological effect, it becomes a system level problem. It leads to what we could call a great cultural status. one of the strangest consequences of this is the loss of loss. Because everything is archived and instantly accessible, we don't truly lose anything. And without that sense of loss, we can't feel true nostalgia. That deep craving for a bygone era that has always been such a powerful engine for creating something new. We don't forget enough to make room for the future. And this brings us right back to the key concept of this whole video: cultural entropy. It's just like in physics, where a closed system eventually runs out of energy and stops being able to do useful work. A culture without new, weird, external inputs just moves towards a state of sameness, a loop of past styles repeating and repeating without progressing. And the consequences of this are severe. Our ability to solve new problems starts to erode. A herd mentality takes over because the system constantly favors the safe, average, middle. And most importantly, the system begins to punish originality, making it economically and socially impossible for truly groundbreaking ideas to emerge and survive. So, what's the ultimate result of all this? I mean, it's not just about boring movies or repetitive songs, it's something much, much deeper. We risk trapping ourselves in a perfectly closed loop of repetition, a place where nothing new can enter and nothing old can truly leave. It's like a cultural hall of mirrors. It's where we only ever see reflections of what already exists. And that is a final crucial point to leave you with. The greatest danger in this era of cultural entropy isn't just that we stop creating original things, it's that we forget how, that our collective imagination actually atrophies and we lose the fundamental human instinct to even search for the new, the weird, and the unexpected.